Okay, it's official. How's everyone doing today? All right. Can everyone hear me okay? Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Right. Well, thank you. Let's get started. First of all, appreciate you all spending some time with me today. I know there are a lot of other Zoom meetings out there in the world, so really appreciate you coming, discussing ergonomics on the campus and what we can do to work a little bit safer and more ergonomic. So my name is Greg Ryan. I'm an ergonomist at the campus. I printed out the roster yesterday and saw so many familiar names on there. So really happy to have all of you here.
Do not let him out.
And I think most people will be muted on the way in, but we'll keep an eye out for that. I think we're all going through the technology things. I cannot get my screen to work with PowerPoint, to work with my camera, and get good audio all at the same time. So you'll see the PowerPoint, might see my side of my face there, but you won't see the camera. I think we'll get better quality with that. You'll see a lot of my pictures, so I think a lot of you know me, but you'll see probably the side of my rather large head. But my face is more of a combination of Daniel Craig and Brad Pitt, so I'll just keep that in mind. So, moving on here, like I said, I'm an ergonomist at the campus, Be Well at Work Ergonomics, faculty staff health programs. We're going to talk about all the other resources that Be Well at Work provides to the campus a little bit later on. As you know, we're pretty much focused today on ergonomics and how to set up our workstations. Hopefully I can figure out how to move the slides on here. So I think we're all familiar at this point with our new working environment. And I think it is changing. It's changing for me. I keep getting booted to different spots in the house. So ever changing, much different. I think a lot of us have worked at home before, but it's completely different now because everybody's working at home, and we have to just work completely differently. And a lot of us have kids, and a lot of us don't, and are isolated. And so what I've noticed, and talking to my colleague Mallory Lynch, who also does ergonomics on the campus, there's two of us for the campus. So, and we have our Ergo evaluators, and I know a lot of them are on the call, so appreciate all the work you're doing, getting the word out there about ergonomics as well, because there's been a great need, obviously, through the surveys and just the response from campus. So we've been working hard behind the scenes. I've had a good campus response. I've really felt strong. HR, people and culture, supply chain management, university health services all came together and put together a pretty good program for the campus, I think, probably most than most employers are doing. But talking with Mallory, I think everyone's situation is a little bit different. And I've seen, some of the worst workstations and some really good ones. So I think looking at all this, I think I always come back to the same thing. It's really different for everyone. Everyone has different resources, prerequisites, body issues. So I think in the big picture, just kind of internalize this, and first let's try to figure out what we're working with. I can see there that a lot of us are just working with a laptop. So our equipment has changed quite a bit. We don't have the big monitors. We don't have external devices. Some of us, we're working with, difficult furniture. A lot of us dining tables, hard chairs, or super soft seating, nothing truly ergonomic. Not to mention all the lighting issues, spatial issues. Yesterday I had a leaf blower going on for hours and hours, driving me crazy. So it goes on and on. We've all dealt with it. A lot more time on the screen, a lot more visual challenges going on. So we're very aware of it. Different environments and different distractions. I like to have fun with this stuff, but some of it isn't. And some of it works okay. I always look at these and look at the ergonomic perspective, and this doesn't look so bad. He's getting his laptop up a little bit, but it's just a lot going on. We got the dogs in there, we got the cats, we got phones, we got tables, little ones. It's really, really difficult. And like I say, it's always changing. And I always look at these things at the ergonomic perspective. Like, we're getting some support there, but a little bit too much force probably on the chest, and Not a lot of back support. I've been seeing that a lot lately, and a lot of necks looking down, a lot of neck flexion looking at the screens. And then it like just seems to get kind of worse, you know, where we start to just getting, this is kind of the stage I'm at this point, and just trying to, you know, figure things out, trying to get my own space. So I think that's very, very critical, is finding your own space and having one primary location where you can get organized and have a pretty good setup, something that, you know, resembles your work setup. So we discussed that today. You know, unfortunately, with these new environments and new working distractions and everything that's going on, we still have to get work done. I've talked to a lot of people, and we're busy. The work has not gone away, so people are super busy. Like I said, increased in Zoom times, and honestly, the human body does not change. We have the same criteria for the body. The body still wants to do the same thing. It wants to work in neutral postures. If you can see the upper left there, you know, it wants to have good foot support. The elbows should be by the sides. The wrist should be straight, right? We know all these postures. A lot of you have taken my classes before. Thanks. And I think in the big picture, I always look at, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I start with the good. I think the positive thing is we can move, a lot of us, in our locations. And I think that's the one positive thing we can take. We can still move, and we need to. The research is really telling us on the right there that that's the latest out of Cornell. For every half-hour period, we should be, you know, sitting for about 20 minutes, standing for about 8, and moving for 2. So that's how we optimize human movement. We perform at our best, and our body feels good when we're supported sitting and we're moving a little bit. So I think we can do it in our houses with a little bit of effort. So I think in the good picture, we can move a lot more. And I really empower people to try to, you know, create different stations and try to move as much as we can. I don't want to be too much Captain Obvious here, but you know, obviously the human body wants to move. So the way we can do that in the house, any way we can, better for us. So I want to talk a little bit about the big picture. And like I said, everyone's situation is different. Everyone's working with different things. So I think what a good conversation to have is with your supervisor. Let them know, you know, what's going on, what you need, and be very, very frank and open. I think the campus has been very, very clear about how we want to support our workers, and we do want to support our workers. Not everyone feels that way, I know. So sometimes those are very difficult conversations, and Be Well at Work has other resources for those as well. But I think it's an important one to go through the process, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But most people will need something, I've noticed. There's no way to work on a laptop safely for long periods of time. So we've known this for a long, long time. I think the laptop stuff was in the early 2000s. But for, you know, the duration on a laptop safely is about an hour a day, max, total. So that gets eaten up pretty quickly. So you're probably going to need something, an external mouse, keyboard, or at least some kind of way to separate the keyboard, mouse from the monitor. So an external monitor, or maybe an HDMI port. We can plug your laptop into a monitor, but there's got to be some way to separate those two. So most people need some equipment, and you have to talk to your supervisor about that. We'll also discuss the Ergo program. It's pretty, well, relatively straightforward in steps, but pretty straightforward to get external devices, and I'll show you what's on our program there. And we do have matching funds for that. And we do also do virtual assessments, so we'll talk about that as well. I've seen IT support differ among units. I think most people have a ticketing system now. Again, I would engage IT if you need anything, cords, monitors, and everyone's situation is different. I do know people that have come back and gotten things, monitors, chairs, and I do, you know, I would promote it if it's done in a safe way. I think that's a cost-effective way. And I know a lot of people that probably will have 2 workstations moving forward, and that's not really a good option. So again, talking to your supervisor, being clear about what's going to happen moving forward, and, you know, trying to work with what you have and make it as good as it can get. So kind of like I was saying, you know, movement's the key. So making a few different workstations, I think, is critical. Like I said, it's having that one primary is really important where you feel very comfortable. You might have your speakers there. I've seen audio issues. You know, it's nice to have some external speakers. You stay organized. You know, have everything there, and then have some other places you can go. So I think the research is pretty clear that a standing workstation is really beneficial for most people. And everyone, like I said, everyone is different. Some people like to stand a lot, like myself. I like to stand a lot, but I have to do a few things to counteract that as well, because standing for long periods of time is really, really tough on your body as well. So again, not to beat the horse, but movement is key, changing these workstations up. But let's start with the primary and talk about how to get safe there. So, you know, in the big picture, you know, we're all in these really bad positions. I think a lot of us are working on the dining table. A lot of us have the pterodactyl thing going on. Most of us, our body leans towards its visual target there. I'm doing some kind of Michael Jackson Thriller thing there in the middle. It just is really hard to work on these devices with these equipment. So you're going to get into bad postures. You're going to get the rounding of the back. There's a lot of neck flexion. That's my daughter there on the bottom left. Even in a pretty good situation, you can see the neck is still flexing down. And I say we can, you know, in terms of eating, we can make the kitchen work. We can make the dining room table work. We can, you know, move things around, and we really can't make the bed work. Really got to promote getting out of the bed, getting away from the bed, and setting it up somewhere else. There's really no way to work very safely there. It's too soft. Just you get into awkward postures in your pelvis and puts a lot of pressure on your low back. You can just see that there. But on the bed, it's just really, really bad position. So I know we get there from time to time, but the risk manager in me says that's just a big, big no-no, and you can feel it very, very quickly. So let's stay away from the bed, and let's learn how to work on dining room tables safely, because it can be done. It can be done. Now, it will take probably a few items, cushions, towels, pillows, maybe a box for your foot. I've seen rolled up yoga mats work very well for foot support. You can roll them a little bit, get some movement, also give yourself some support. So, you know, going back to the good ergonomics, starts with good foot support. You want good thigh support, lower back and upper back. So spend some time with your chair, whatever you're working with, you know, get some straps out, some Velcro, whatever you got laying around. And try to make it as comfortable as possible. So what we want to do is make sure you have a little bit of firm lower back support in our lumbar area, and we're getting some contact about shoulder blade level. That way your head is balanced over your shoulders, balanced over your elbows, and you're in a really neutral, nice working posture. And really the only way to get that, especially with your neck, is to separate the keyboard and the mouse. You can see here, the lady has an external keyboard and mouse. She's got her standard monitor her standard laptop, you're using that as a monitor that's raised up. So her screen is about eye level. Most of the laptops are pretty small, 13, 15 inches. So about eye level at the top of the screen is about correct. Since humans gaze about 30 degrees down, that puts our target right in the middle, you know, usually about arm's length away. So all the same things apply that, you know, we've been talking about for years and years and years. We just have to kind of adapt them a little bit. So a lot of dining room tables are pretty high because they're meant for dining and for taller men to get underneath there. So it's always good to know your elbow height. So that might be something fun to do with the kids, you know, sit down, have them take your elbow height and try to match that up with your keyboard and mouse. So sometimes you got to put some pillows down to raise yourself up. That helps. I've also seen people, you know, use stability balls for really short periods of time, but you have to raise up somehow a little bit usually. So using some pillows to sit on, that usually helps. But I've seen, you know, for short periods of time, using some pillows and cushions can make it relatively comfortable. So here's myself, and I look at it again like good, better, best. You know, sometimes I don't have a ton of time. I'll just put the HDMI adapter into an older TV I had. I moved from the back room and try to create a good space for myself. Try to get some lower back support. But again, it changes, you know, in one position, I got a really bad picture from my kid with their finger there, but where I'm not getting good foot support, you can see I got my shoes off and, you know, probably could work a little bit safer, but it's not bad, right? My wrists are straight, my elbows are by my side. You know, I got the external monitor, so it's pretty good. But I think you learn pretty quickly whether you can work off of a laptop keyboard and trackpad or not. And a lot of people cannot, especially with the trackpad for long periods of time. What tends to happen, you have a lot of micro movements. People tend to anchor a little bit, lean on their hand and kind of swipe with their finger. So it is better to go on the, like on the right side there to get an external keyboard, an external mouse, maybe use a laptop lifter, use an extra screen there, you know, really set it up well, kind of like it worked. You know, I argue with my wife all the time about the shoes in the house, and this is just one of those situations where if you're going to work for a long period of time, it's probably better to have the shoes on, give you a little bit better foot support, just try to get some, you know, some good body support there. So again, foot, thighs, lower back, upper back. I always go to shoulder blades touching the chair. You got to have some kind of back support. So stools, I was working with a client yesterday, I was just on a stool, no back support whatsoever. And that's just not going to work all day long. The body needs some support throughout the day. So you always go to shoulder blades. That makes sure that your head's over your shoulders, over your elbows close there, and you know, set it up like just like it worked, as close as possible. So standing stations, if you go back to the Cornell model, you know, 20 minutes of sitting, 8 minutes of standing. So most people really benefit from a standing station. Get a little bit of gravity onto your legs, get your blood flow moving, you know, change your metabolic pathway. You know, 20 minutes is a real critical point for humans. If you're in a bad posture, your muscles tend to not to get enough oxygen after about 20 minutes. After about 20 minutes of sitting, your metabolism tends to shift, your cortisol levels tend to rise, you tend to get a little more of a stress response and hold on to a little bit more fat. So it's good for you to stand and obviously move. So standing stations work. Again, knowing your elbow height, standing elbow height is good to know, and try to match that up with your keyboard and mouse. So most counters are about 36 inches, which for most people, you need to raise that up to get to elbow height. So I think she's got a puzzle board there. So game boards work, you know, anything around the kitchen. I've seen small ironing boards be used, anything to raise those up a little bit. But generally the board games work pretty well, something flat and large. And again, you have to have the external devices for longer periods, you know, get that screen up right about eye level. That looks pretty good. The standing has been, because I've gone there more, it's been pretty actually tough on my legs. So I do try to change my foot posture often. So staggered stance, putting one leg in front of the other, maybe getting a leg up, lifting one if you have that opportunity. Sometimes when you're at the kitchen counter, there might be a door you can open up, and then they'll put a ledge there. You can put your foot up and give you a little bit of, take a little bit of pressure off of your back. Using a yoga mat, I've seen help for anti-fatigue mat. That takes a little pressure there. Or some people have those mats in the kitchens as well. And that's a good place to get a kind of a mat, as those kitchen stores. But yoga mats work very well. You can double them up to get a little bit more cushioning as well. I would probably wear shoes. Again, that's more of an internal strife with the wife. I do put the shoes on, but I think like long term, I've gone to the yoga mat with the socks. And so it keeps on changing. But I think, you know, what you want to do, if you're going to be here for a while, you got to separate the monitor and the input devices. So again, on the right side there, using a book, it's usually a little bit low for most people on the counter. So raising that up. And then just using some books, or, you know, microwaves tend to work well, or any kind of books or boxes to get that screen up right about eye level, you know, for the smaller screens. So this is my daughter here, kind of a setup where we do have to switch around. We have multiple workstations. She uses mine every once in a while, and I use hers. She is exactly 5 foot tall. I have a lot of clients that are 5 foot tall. So a 36-inch height table works pretty well. You know, like I said, the yoga mat, changing the leg positionings. Depending on where you're at, you know, you may want to use speakers or, you know, some kind of headset. I like the headsets to be able to move around a little bit more if you're on Zoom meetings. I like using my phone too, walking around the around the block, even if I'm on a Zoom call where I don't have to be seen or be active, just to get some motion in there. Ironing boards are really cool to use because they're adjustable, so you can get them at different heights. So there's a few different types there. It's one workstation of a colleagues of mine. We can change different heights, and I think that gives you some flexibility. So with my daughter's station there on the right, I put one box under the laptop and a box under the screen, and I'm at the right height. So you can change kind of things around, again, knowing your elbow height, knowing where you want to work. But again, elbows are by your sides, our wrists are straight there. It's looking pretty good. And I said, I've had a real hard time standing for long periods. It really is tough on your knees, lower back. So switching it up and using the mats and changing your foot position often really helps. Okay, so on to the couch. I know there's probably some stuff going on in the chat. We'll get to that at the end. Again, my Zoom game is not at its best at the moment. So when I'm in this mode, I can't see the chat as well. So we'll get to that at the end if you do have questions. So hold those to the end. Like I said, these are more, we're going to go to more short periods of time. So if you think about it, 28 and 2, this is going to be more in the, well, not 2 category, but very short periods. It's tough to get comfortable here. So you can see the problems leaning forward, going towards a visual target. You're really sinking those couches. So you might not feel it, actually. I've noticed that myself. I might be there for an hour and I get up and like, oh, my hips, lower back, because you're not really feeling the awkward posture because you are sitting and you are supported, but you are in an awkward posture. So the muscles are getting stretched. You are getting some pressure there at the lower back, but you may not feel it until you get up. So you really want to get some more firm support there and some better postural support. So take a little bit of time. Again, it's really impossible to work super safe without getting external devices. But here you can see he's got really good lower back support. He's raised his hips up a little bit, still has good foot support. Now, he's a rather taller gentleman, so I think a lot of people may need some extra foot support sitting on the couch or bringing, using cushions to lower their, shorten their seat pan a little bit so their feet aren't dangling. But good lower back, again, good upper back. Shoulder blades are touching something, right? Some cushions there, his head's balanced, elbows by the side, wrists are straight. So that's a pretty good position. Again, shorter periods of time, tough to work really well on the couch, but we all get there. Try to sit on something a little firmer and get comfortable. Onto more alternative workstations. We all get there. These are really short periods of time, but I do enjoy switching things up and getting different postures. Just knowing that they're for very short periods of time. And everyone's different. Some people can stand a lot longer than I can. Some people can't. So you got to kind of work with what you have, work with your prerequisites, listen to your body, and act on it. So I didn't just keep working when my feet were hurting. Get some support. Get some anti-fatigue mat or a yoga mat. So these positions aren't great, but they're short term. They're kind of like sitting on a stability ball because that would work as well for short terms. You're really working on your posture here. You have 15 pounds of air, gravity working against your posture. So you have to hold it up for most of those positions. So it's good to work on your posture for short periods of time. So I don't think I could be there more than 15, 20 minutes or so. And the couch, like I said, you can get caught on the couch. So you might think you're comfortable, then you get up and you're going to feel it. So again, very, very short periods of time, but sometimes that's the only place you have. My dining room table was recently taken over by the game police. So they've got a big game out there doing a puzzle. So I've been moved around the house. So there's turf wars going on at my house. Moving on to different wars, lighting wars. So, I think what we're dealing with at home is a lot more sunlight coming into the house, which I think most of us think is great. Sunlight is great for a lot of things. It's pretty tough on our eyes, though, because it changes all throughout the day and we really don't notice it. So the lighting in the morning is much different than the lighting in midday, is much different than the lighting in the afternoon. And that's really tough on our eyes. So we want to spend a little time, make sure we set up our screens, take time to set up our screens safely. Use your blinds. What you don't want to do is that upper right-hand picture there. You don't want the screen right in front of the window because it's going to be very bright and then darker, or bright and dark, and the contrast is going to be pretty dramatic. So that's really, really tough on the eyes, those transitions, basically. So your eyes start to fatigue, the muscles actually start to spasm more, your blink rate tends to reduce, so your eyes dry out very quickly. So we are seeing a lot of eye issues. And again, our screen time has increased, so that makes sense. So we have to take a little bit more time. Try to set up our screens 90 degrees to the light source, to the sun, so it doesn't hit directly, so it's not right in front of you or right behind you. Those are the two worst places. So the bottom left there is a good setup, 90 degrees to the window. Use some task lighting, the bottom right there, if you need to. It's really tough to get even amount of lighting in the house. You know, we're coming from a really controlled environment where we might not love fluorescent lighting or the type of lighting that's in our buildings, but it is very consistent, which is very easy on our eyes. So our eyes are really getting slammed. We may not notice it, but they really, really are at home. So try to control the light as much as you can. Like I say, use the blinds, have good lighting. Try to keep the contrast of the screen similar to the room, so it's not too bright or not too dark. Take a little bit of time and set it up. Again, Captain Obvious, it's a duration response. Use the 20-20-20 rule. So every 20 minutes, take a 20-second break, look at something 20 feet away. So take a lot of eye breaks, and the rule of thumb is to change that focal length. So even though you don't want that to be looking straight over your screen at something, you know, look to the left, look at some greenery, that's good. Changing that focal length help your eyes blink a little bit and relax. So a lot of times with our body and with our eyes, we need regular breaks. On to breaks. So I can't really tell you how important they are. You know, the research is all the different types of research is pointing in that direction. And I know it's really, really hard to do. I tell people about the 28 and 2 half an hour guideline, and people roll their eyes. It's really, really hard to do. And I know, but we got to take care of our bodies. You know, like I say, that 20 minutes is, you're seeing that very, very often now for your body, for your concentration breaks, for your visual breaks. So there's definitely something about those 20 minutes. So try to, you know, take regular breaks, you know, do some fun things. You know, hopefully on the upper right there, we'll get to where we want to go eventually. But I always go to, you know, yoga is great. Any kind of postural awareness is fantastic for computer users, because regardless of what we do, we have to work on our posture. So if we're not working on it, it's getting worse usually. So having some strategy around your posture, you know, setting up your workstations well, but also, you know, making sure you're not leaning on your arms, not leaning on your body. So that takes your posture to hold it up, or, you know, some kind of chair, some kind of external support. So you really, really want to work on your posture. Like I say, yoga is good, Pilates, but just generally postural awareness can go a long way. Somatics, Feldenkrais, there's so many good things out there. But I guess the one thing is just start to think about it and have a strategy around it. So I really like foam rollers, yoga mats, TheraBands around the house. I think those are, you know, really inexpensive ways to get a good workout in. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff online as well. We'll talk a little bit about that, but you know, really got to hammer the brakes. I didn't, you know, when I first got into the industry, I didn't think, you know, what's a 5-minute break every hour? Back then it was like every 2 hours, but you know, really at least every half an hour, try to get up. So some people are natural break takers. They drink lots of water, they fidget, they go to the bathroom a lot, they probably live about 10 years longer, and then some people don't. So some people need a little extra help to take breaks. There are break timers. You know, you obviously have a phone, you can set timers there. There is a stretch break software called RSI Guard that right now is doing a 6-month free trial during the COVID lockdown. It's a fantastic program. It could drive you crazy also, because it does pop up a lot, but it does give you a lot of control over how often it pops up, what kind of content you get. It gives you a lot of good ergonomic content, as well as some stretches and some safe ways to move. So it is a good way if you're one of the people that just need a little extra help or just need a little ergo advice. It's a good way to go. And like I said, it's free right now, which is nice. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about our ergonomics program and kind of next steps. So you have some ideas how to set up your station. So there's a lot of good resources. This is right on our front page of our ergonomics page there. It really takes you through step-by-step instructions on what to do. So we definitely want you taking, the Computer Health Matters class online. And I'm sure most of you have taken that by now. And then there's some tips there. So we want, just like we did today, we went through like, what are we doing? What do we need? Making sure that we have a good idea of a strategy of what we want to do in our own house. Like I said, talk to your supervisor, manager, make sure they know what's going on. It's pretty straightforward in terms of input devices. We have a few different types, just bundles there on the left for keyboard and mouse, just to separate the monitor and the screen from the input devices. We have vertical mice there. So kind of all the basics. We do have some options for some chair support, for some laptop support, laptop lifters, wrist rest, foot rest, HDMI cable. So everything we think, that can help you in terms of just the basics, separating the monitor from the input devices and giving you a little bit of postural support. So those are pretty straightforward to order. All the information is there. Now, if you need anything else, or you just want to discuss how to set things up, or you're having some challenges at home, contact Mallory or myself. Our information is there, and we can set up a virtual remote assessment. So we can go over, what kind of needs you have and make any other recommendations. So those are all the links there. And again, this is all on our front page. And please feel free to reach out to us if you need help, if you have any questions. I think in the big picture, a lot of people are trying to sell ergonomic stuff. I see these products come all the time. I really start very, very basic: keyboards, mice, input devices, and separating those from the screen, and then kind of go outside of that. So again, it's relatively straightforward, but again, everyone's situation is so different. That I think it often helps having an assessment, whether you need something or not, where you can just talk through, what the strategy is. And if you are having any aches and pains, we can triage those. And if you are having any discomforts at home, please talk to your supervisor, reach out to us. There are resources available. Other resources in terms of Be Well at Work. So employee assistance, this counseling, elder care, look for their Zoom workshops. I know they're doing some meditation throughout the week as well, but a lot of good resources there. And if you need one-on-one counseling, that is available as well. So reach out to employee assistance. And again, most of the best information is to either go to our COVID page, Be Well at Work COVID page. That's all of the most relevant COVID information in terms of Be Well at Work. And then also go to our individual pages if you want to reach out to individuals there. Wellness has a lot of great things going on. They do a morning refresh Monday, Wednesday, Friday with Lindy West at 9:30, just to keep people moving. Like I say, stretching, some postural wellness goes a long way. Really cool nutritional classes, cook-alongs, really innovative nutritional information there. So, tons of good resources, a lot of good, unfortunately, I want to push people to Zoom, but that's just where we're at right now. But like with the cook-alongs and things like that, there are a lot of, different ways to do Zoom. So you're not just stuck on the screen, all day long. Work life, obviously, that's really tough right now. So many good resources there in terms of balancing what we're all going through. A lot of cool things to do with your kids, a lot of things online with your kids, financial resources as well, where to look at the university. So, and as usual with the university, a lot of things going on, a lot of good things going on, sometimes tough to find. So, go to our pages. Like I said, the COVID page is probably the best place to find all of our resources in one page. And like I said, it's a lot there. So ergonomics is just one aspect of it. I think there are a lot of good resources there, but we all have to look at the big picture and then figure out what our needs are, because it's all so different. So really lean on us, reach out to us. Let us know what you need. And like I say, everything is just constantly changing. So please reach out if you need anything, in terms of the ergonomics. Mallory and myself, we can set up a remote assessment. And then any, feedback, comments, anything you guys need, please let us know. Like I said, it's really difficult to get feedback. There have been some surveys taken. We've definitely heard, a lot of the needs and trying to respond to those, but please be vocal, hang in there. Really appreciate everyone's time today. and let's chat a little bit, see what's going on there. Now I have to find the chat. Okay. So something about if it works with a Dell laptop. So most of the products, all Mac and PC products, generally are interchangeable for the most part. I wouldn't use a Mac keyboard on a PC. Like, I wouldn't go that way. But most of the PC products work well with Macs. You might lose a little functionality here or there on some of the more fancier aspects of those, but for the most part, they all work together. So they all and some will have some options. So if you have a Mac, there is an option for a vertical mouse, but they generally all work together pretty well. So a lot of good thank yous. I appreciate that. So asking about a 17-inch laptop and a standing station. So with the different screen sizes, like I said, with generally the smaller screens, I usually try to position, the laptop right about eye level, the top of the screen. Now, as the screens get bigger and wider, you can start to raise the screen a little bit so your eyes aren't at the top. They might be dropping down a few inches. So some of the pictures I've taken with those, with the, it's a 30-inch screen, my eyes are a little bit lower. But for most people on these smaller, anything up to like 19 inches is always top of the screen and about arm's length away. Again, I got to emphasize that people's eyes are quite variable, so you want to play around with that a little bit. So something about the wrist rests attached. I didn't talk a ton about that, sorry. But, and like I say, I think most people know now whether they're like a mouse or a trackball. Some people like wrist rests, some people really don't. In this situation, I have found them to be very helpful. Since a lot of our tables are quite high, I think having that little extra palm support or wrist support helps flatten things out and might reduce some contact stress. So sometimes with those sharp edges and you're sitting up a little higher and you tend to lean forward anyway, you tend to get a little contact stress or a little digging in of the edge into your soft tissues. So I do find those to be somewhat helpful. But again, I do have clients that absolutely can't stand them. But again, I always go back to not, leaning into your wrist rest or your arm rest or any kind of surface. If you're leaning on something, that means that force is going into your body. So I always go back to, good postural awareness, resting our hands. But the minute our body starts to lean on the hands or the arms, then it starts to put a little extra force on the body and tends not to be good. So, and like I say, everyone's different. I think the Ergo term, the next posture is the best posture. So I'm working at Berkeley, I've seen everything over the years. Seen people in the lotus position. I go with comfort and listening to your body. And that's period. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I'm not saying no one can work on the bed, but listen to your body. You'll know pretty quickly. I do know most people will need some support throughout the day. But like I said, everyone has different prerequisites. So the angles of their body can be a little bit different. So yeah, I think mix it up, change it up, listen to your body. Just watch out for those things we said to avoid for long periods of time. Generally anything for short periods of time, crossing your legs, not a big deal for short periods of time. But when things start to go to sleep or, go numbing and tingling, then you've been there a little too long. Let's see here. So some sit-stand questions. There are a lot out there. And this specific question is, I think they have a desktop and they want to go to a mechanical leg for a sit-stand. That can be done. So there are a lot of what they call retro kits. They will send you the kits and they're electric and you can put the legs. I got to tell you, they're not super easy to install. And they're a little bit tough. So with those, I tend to look for service. So I would buy the legs and have someone like, one workplace install the legs, and then, it's done correctly and the warranty is good. There are a lot of things like that out there. I think that would be one of the things we would discuss. We could do an assessment and see what are the options, because there are a lot of options, and I like that option, the legs, better than the stand units. I really stay away from the very desks, or not to bash any companies, but just things that sit on top of a desk or a table. It's usually already too high. So what I've seen is most people can make a standing station. It's just the sitting stations that they're tough to make safe. So the laptop is it's just a laptop stand, and it is on the list. And they're kind of like cookbook stands. They're pretty basic. They just kind of stand up and hold your laptop, and they do adjust a little bit, but it just kind of gets the screen up. And usually you'll need a few books. I'm not the tallest guy, but I'll still need a few books to get it high enough for my eye level. But those work pretty well. So that's a Gold Touch laptop lifter. Those work. Those work well. And those are pretty basic. I don't go with the stuff that's really too crazy, because I know people have, don't have a lot of room in their house. So most of this stuff folds down. Most of it is mobile, so that when we, do get out of this and we do go to the coffee shops or whatever, hopefully someday, that we can use these devices and still, work safely there as well. Again, so I hate to, say it depends, but in terms of, the stuff from campus, and that's why I go back to talking to your supervisor, because some buildings are open, some buildings aren't. So I do know people that have come back to get their chairs. So I think again, it really, really depends. I do like that, to use resources in the right way. But I also know that some people just don't have that option. I know people that are quite remote. So we have had to, just figure out ways to get products to people, whether it's chairs, tables. So we're constantly changing and looking for things like that. And I think it really depends on where you're at, what unit, and kind of the strategy moving forward. But I think that's something definitely, you can talk to your supervisor about. I like the idea. I know a lot of people have done it, but I also know that a lot of people just don't have either the space in their house, or they live on the 5th floor, or they actually need some movers to get there. Things are opening up. I definitely know it's changing. I saw some emails come through today that there's more moving options. So I things are getting better and better. A few weeks ago, we had a real hard time even getting anything delivered. It was a really tough time to figure it out. We did figure it out, but it wasn't as easy. A lot of people weren't delivering, or they're definitely not going in the house, but not even delivering to the front door. So keep an eye out for that, because I do think it's a good idea, definitely. All right. Well, it looks to be about it. Please, again, you have my contact information. Feel free to reach out to myself or Mallory. And just know that we're here for you. And and I hate to say it, but things are constantly changing. Just talk with your supervisor, and then let us help. A lot of times they will want some kind of assessment, some kind of needs report, so we can provide that to you if you do need something. So smaller chairs. So we do have options. Again, the options are kind of limited, but they're changing. So usually we do have petite chairs in our program. It's been a little bit tougher to get right now. But we do have a few chairs that are on quick ship, like 3 to 5 days, that work for petites as well. But I think, again, using an assessment, knowing the exact anthropometrics and the height will help us with that. But there's some chair options for petites for sure. right, everyone. Well, we got about 10 minutes. I didn't really want to go on too long after all the 20-minute concentration things, but obviously there's a lot going on there. And like I said, really talk to your supervisor, reach out to us. We're here for you. And please, stay safe, keep moving, and try new things. Definitely try a standing station. But knowing that, you're probably going to need a couple things if you haven't got them yet. So either try to talk to your supervisor, come back to campus, use our program. If you're having any difficulties navigating anything, reach out to, like I say, Mallory and myself, and we'll help you. All right, everyone. On that note, I'm seeing all the thank yous. So nice to see so many familiar names and a few faces out there. And hopefully I will see you soon. All right, everyone. Take care.